Morning, Columbus. Hope you're done with your sleeping.
Well, sir, I must say I could use a few more hours.
Yeah, well, no rest for the wicked.
I'll sleep when I'm dead, right, Lieutenant? So what have you got for me?
Another rich old dead guy, of course. What else?
My favorite kind. Who is it this time?
Jacob Mailman. Have you heard of him?
The entrepreneur? Yeah. He's retired, though, right? Off the radar with his little squeeze or something.
Was off the radar.
Was? He's dead?
I'm afraid so.
But what happened?
3 days ago, all of a sudden he started showing flu-like symptoms.
Well, the man was in his 80s. It could be any number of things.
The doctors don't think so. He was in perfect health.
What about the wife? Where is she?
At the hospital, drowning out those baby blues.
Do you buy it?
Hard saying. I hate the term trophy wife. Mostly because Mona Melman ain't no trophy.
Wrong side of the tracks, right?
Not that I hold that against her, but the girl's come trouble. Her old man and uncles ran with the Macaulay crew back in the day.
Well, that's going way back for sure.
And now look at her standing to make millions now that the old crows finally packed it in.
So what evidence do we have to open an investigation? No disrespect, Lieutenant, but right now it seems more like a medical mystery than a murder one.
Because of Melman's sister, that's why.
His sister?
Yes, Judah Melman, 79 years old and widowed wife of Marcus Schrader. She contacted us yesterday with a sordid story.
Involving the potential murder of her brother, I presume.
You would presume right. She said she believed that someone had recently begun poisoning her older brother Jacob. Sadly, a mere hour later, it would be too late.
Does she have any ideas as to who it could be?
Of course she does. Just the one. And I'll give you one guess as to who it is.
I'm guessing it wasn't the Blue Fairy.
Try another dominating blonde who looks great in blue.
Mona Melman.
There she blows.
All right, Lieutenant, take it easy there. I'm on the case. I'll have it wrapped by lunch.
By lunch, huh? Always my most ambitious detective. And most delusional.
Care to make it interesting?
How about a steak lunch over at Oliver's?
That's a deal and a half.
Well then get to it, Columbus.
Hello, Mrs. Melman.
Yes?
Hello, Mrs. Melman. This is Detective Hank Columbus with Ashland PD.
Oh, Detective Columbus, hello.
I wanted to tell you that I'm sorry for the loss of your husband. Boy, that sure is rough.
Oh, well thank you, but I'm still in shock. This happened just a few hours ago, and it's all just so confusing.
Yes, well, death is mankind's greatest mystery.
Yes, I suppose.
So you're still at the hospital, then?
Yes, I am.
Pardon me asking, Mrs. Melman, but why are you still there? Your husband expired, let me check my watch, 5 hours ago now.
Well, we're still waiting for some relatives to arrive. Jacob had quite the large family, as I'm sure you know.
Yes, of course. And has his sister arrived yet?
That depends on which one you're referring to.
I'm referring to Judah, Mrs. Melman.
Then, yes, Judah's here. In fact, Judah was the first one to arrive.
Uh-huh. Do you and Judah possibly have some sort of a problem? I was wondering.
Now where is all this heading, Detective Columbus? I don't think I appreciate this line of questioning.
Apologies, Miss Melman, but these are all just routine questions.
Well, I don't understand why you're talking to me like I'm a suspect of something.
Are you?
Am I what?
A suspect of something.
Like what?
When did your husband first start feeling sick, Mrs. Melman?
Well, I don't know.
Well, was it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? When was it?
Friday, I think.
Uh-huh, and today's Monday, so that was 3 days ago.
You're good with numbers, Detective.
Yeah, I got B's in consumer math. So tell me, how did you and Mr. Melman meet?
We met on a blind date.
A blind date with a millionaire? Sure, and poodles fly. When?
3 years ago.
And how old are you?
I'm 27.
That's quite an age gap.
Age is just a number.
Well, numbers don't lie, and I assure you, Mona Melman, I've got yours.
What is this? My husband just died. No one can tell me why, and now a detective is accusing me of doing it?
No one is accusing anyone.
Well, I don't appreciate the insinuation, and my lawyers will most assuredly be taking it up with your chief.
My chief? Well, I'll be interested to see that. In fact, Mrs. Melman, I'll bring the popcorn.
Goodbye, Detective. I hope you spend the day finding out who actually poisoned my husband.
Poisoned? What makes you say that?
Well, what else could it have been? I mean, he got sick a few days ago, and all of a sudden he's dead? And the doctors can't find out what did it? I mean, he's old, yes, but he had just seen the doctors and been given a clean bill of health.
So if Jacob had been poisoned, who do you think could have done it?
I don't know.
Funny, that doesn't sound all that convincing to me.
Well, isn't Isn't that for the police to figure out?
And it's for you to help us.
I don't know about poisoning, but I do know of someone who was upset with him.
And who could that be?
Our maid. Well, one of them. Coley.
Coley?
Yeah.
So what motive would this maid have for poisoning your husband?
Well, you see, Detective, my husband has always had relationships outside of our marriage.
You mean mistresses?
Yes.
And you're saying that this Cody woman,
Coley.
Coley, is one of them?
Yes. We did not discuss it, him and I, but I suppose it was a rather open secret.
But what motive would Coley have to kill him? I still don't understand.
Isn't love reason enough?
So you're saying that she loved Jacob?
No, but I think he loved her.
I hate to tell you this, Mrs. Melman, but so far you've only given me reason to suspect you.
Well, once you talk to Coley, Detective Columbus, I think you may feel differently.
And why is that?
Because she's clearly hiding the true nature of their relationship.
Well, Mrs. Melman, I understand you have a lot on your plate, so I won't keep you any longer.
Yes, Detective Columbus, I would appreciate this greatly.
But, Mrs. Melman, just one more thing.
Yes, what is it?
Have you seen your husband's will, or do you know what it contains?
No, he was very private about those things, even with me.
Thanks, Mrs. Melman. Be seeing you. Coley Nesper?
Yes?
Detective Hank Columbus with the Ashland PD.
Okay.
I'm sorry to bother you so early in the morning, Miss Nesper, but I'm afraid I have some sad news, if you haven't already heard.
Oh, no. Is it Mr. Melman? Is he okay?
Well, in a sense, he's passed on.
What, he died?
Yes, in the hospital early this morning.
But I don't understand. I thought he just had some kind of a flu.
Well, they'll be doing a preliminary autopsy today, and then hopefully we'll get some more answers.
So they don't think it was from the flu?
Well, Mrs. Melman certainly doesn't seem to think so.
And what does Mrs. Melman think?
She thinks that it possibly could be, well, foul play.
But why would she think that?
I don't know. Do you have any reason to think she would?
Probably because she's throwing the scent off herself.
Herself, huh? So you think that Mrs. Melman may have had something to do with this?
Well, no offense, Detective, but who else stands to gain the most from Jacob's death?
Jacob?
Yeah, of course, who else?
No, it's just, I didn't realize you two were on a first-name basis.
Well, I've worked for the man for 5 years. We do occasionally call each other by our first names.
So he wasn't much for professionalism then, Mr. Melman.
I didn't say that.
So tell me, was he on a first-name basis with any of the other house staff?
No, no one I can think of. Wait.
Yes?
Well, I guess I've heard him call one of the drivers by his first name, a younger one.
One of the young drivers, huh? Do you have a name?
Yeah, Kent. Kent Newman.
And you say Kent is a driver. How long has he been there?
Not as long as many of the others. I would say about a year now.
And how many drivers does Jacob have?
3.
The man's totally unspoiled, huh?
Well, Jacob has worked hard. Did work hard. He deserved what he got.
Deserved what he got, huh?
You know what I mean. He earned everything. Nobody gave him anything.
Not like that trophy wife of his, right?
I don't know. She didn't come from anything either.
But she's really made something of herself now, hasn't she? She met herself a rich old man who was probably on death's door. She knew she'd get it all.
That's what you say, not me.
But you wouldn't mind if I believed it, would you?
I want you to believe the truth. If you think that there was foul play or something, then I honestly hope that you find the culprit.
I understand, Miss Nesper. Well, I suppose that will do it for now.
Thank you. I'm exhausted from all of this.
Oh, actually, just one more thing. Did you have a relationship with Mr. Melman, Coley?
What? What do you mean?
I mean, were you and the old man having an affair? Was he in love with you? Did he ever promise you any money?
What? Are you crazy? No, of course not. If anything, I looked up to Jacob as a father figure, okay?
Oh, really? You did?
Yeah, and I am just about done with all these disgusting insinuations, okay, Detective?
I understand, Coley.
You cops are all the same. Let me know when you're actually doing something to help.
I understand, Miss Nesper. Good day.
Well, Detective, now that I'm awake, tell me all about your progress. What have you got for me?
Well, sir, this case is getting a little more confusing by the minute.
And which one isn't? Tell me all about it, Columbus.
Well, I talked to the wife.
The trophy wife.
Yeah, if that helps you, Lieutenant. And I'm not sure if she's involved or not.
So you think that Melman's sister's just mistaken or something more nefarious?
Hard telling.
So what did Mona Melman have to say about the whole thing?
Well, I think I kind of pissed her off, to be honest, Lieutenant. Regardless, she's convinced that one of the maids, Colleen Nesper, was having an affair with Melman.
The old dog. So she thinks that the maid had something to do with it?
Something like that. She claims that the old man was in love with her.
So what? He was going to give her a chunk of his change?
Maybe.
Well, then I guess we better talk to her.
Already did.
I would expect nothing less from you, Columbus. So what did she have to say?
I think she's a straight shooter, Lieutenant. She really did seem to just look up to Melman as a father figure. Or grandfatherly, rather.
So that leads us back to the wife?
Not necessarily. There's another member of the staff that Melman may have been close to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, according to Colleen Nesper, a young driver by the name of Kent Newman. Haven't talked to him yet. I tried him, but got his voicemail.
Well, you know how these kids don't talk on the phone nowadays. It's all text, text, text.
Maybe I should try that.
Give him a couple hours to get his beauty sleep. In the meantime, why don't you talk to Melman's sister? Get her to read on things.
Judah Melman? I suppose I should, considering she's the source. How is she? I mean, to handle.
Well, she's a whole lot sweeter than most of the people we deal with.
Hello, Judah Melman. This is Detective Hank Columbus. I hope I didn't wake you.
Oh, no, Detective, of course not. I've been up all night, either making arrangements or on the phone with friends and family, breaking the news.
Well, I just wanted to tell you how sorry I am for your loss. I didn't know your brother personally, but I've heard nothing but nice things.
Oh, I appreciate that, Detective, and I appreciate you taking on this case.
It's only my job, ma'am. Whenever there's even the slightest hint of suspicion, Ashland PD is on the case.
And do you find my brother's death to be suspicious?
I find the death of any man worth more than $50 million suspicious.
Well, as do I, especially when a man of perfect health, besides the normal ailments of an elderly man, falls ill and dies within days.
Is that what the doctors say?
The doctors are baffled.
And what do you say?
I say he was poisoned.
Poisoned? With what and by who?
By his girl, of course. Ugh.
You mean his wife?
If that's what you want to call her.
But with what?
Well, how should I know that? What's something that kills you over a matter of a few days? Perhaps the doctors should be doing an investigation.
Oh, they are. And the county examiner as well. Don't you worry about that. They're getting to the bottom of it. So, when was the last time you saw your brother?
Well, that's the strange thing. It was only yesterday.
Only yesterday, you say?
He obviously wasn't feeling well, so I brought him some chicken soup. It was our mother's recipe.
Well, that was very kind of you.
Yes, well, he was obviously ill, and the staff said that they would be calling his doctor. I don't know if they ever did.
They did, apparently, but by then, I guess he was already in decline.
What about antifreeze?
Antifreeze, huh? And whatever would make you say that?
Well, isn't that something that people use to poison?
How would you know?
Detective, I read mystery novels and watch Dateline just like anybody else.
Fair point. So you think it was his wife, then? You think it was Mrs. Melman?
Mrs. Melman. And yes, absolutely I do.
And why is that? I'm gonna need you to be specific.
Well, the girl is young. She has her whole life ahead of her. However,
Yeah?
the men in our family tend to live long.
Is that so?
My father lived to be 101. His father was 98.
Interesting.
So as you can see, all of this is unusual. And the girl was clearly getting nervous about the idea that Jacob would live so long, and she wouldn't be free to spend his money however she saw fit. At least not until she wasn't young enough to have as much fun with it.
Well, I have to say, Miss Melman, it's a compelling narrative.
Please, call me Judah.
All right, Judah, I appreciate your help, and I'll keep you informed on everything.
Thank you so much, Detective. I appreciate everything you're doing.
Oh, Miss Melman, just one more thing.
Yes?
Your brother had a young driver by the name of Kent Newman. Do you know anything about him?
Kent. He's the younger one, right? The newer one? The sandy-haired one with the dimples?
I suppose so.
Yes, I know him a bit. Why?
Do you think he could know anything about this?
Well, I don't see a reason for him to. Why? Do you?
Anyone in Jacob's circle could have some sort of a reason, Judah. Anyone at all. Kent Newman?
Yes?
Detective Hank Columbus with Ashland PD. Are you awake enough to talk?
I was awake.
Sure. Well, anyway. Has anyone called you about your boss?
Mr. Melman? No, what's going on?
Well, Kent, he's dead.
What?
Yeah. My condolences.
What do you mean he's dead? What happened?
Well, he fell ill the last few days.
Yes, I know. I was off yesterday, but I know he wasn't feeling so hot the day before. What did the doctors say it was?
They haven't yet.
Why haven't they?
Because they don't know, Kent. It's a mystery. That's why I'm talking to you.
Me? Why me?
I'm talking to everybody close to Mr. Melman. You've been his driver for how long now?
I guess about a year now.
And how did you get the job?
I was recruited.
Recruited? Recruited how?
Well, I was working for a modeling agency, actually.
A modeling agency? You mean you weren't driving before you landed this job?
Yeah, I was a student for a while, just part-time, and doing some modeling too. And then I got this call from the agency telling me somebody wanted me for a job. Turns out it was this.
What do you mean it was this?
It was the strangest thing. I was told to go to this address, so I did, and it turned out to be a huge mansion.
The Melman estate.
Of course. And I had never heard of him, of course, and I'm thinking, am I going to do a photo shoot by the fountain or something? Nope, it was for a driver position.
I don't understand.
Jacob saw me in a magazine and wanted me. He had his people find me and bring me in.
But why would he want you specifically?
Do I really need to spell it out for you, Detective?
Oh, I see.
Look, Jacob loved his wife. Well, wives. He really did, but just not in the way most men do. They were more like companions. The staff were his,
Lovers?
some of us, yes, but not in the sense you mean. He was an older gentleman.
Did Mona Melman know? Or anyone else?
Coley Nesper knew, I'm pretty sure.
Oh?
Yeah, she's a smart girl, and her and Jacob were close.
Were they now?
They had kind of a father-daughter relationship happening.
Kent, were you promised any part of Jacob's fortune after he died?
No, absolutely not.
And how can I be so convinced of that?
Because Jacob didn't believe in giving anything away. He believed in hard work. He came from nothing and made himself into something.
So who was in his will then? Who would stand to gain from him being killed?
The only thing that was truly important to Jacob were his businesses, in the end, that they live on after him. All of those were in a family trust.
So you're saying that his legacy was the most important thing to him?
Yes, his legacy. He believed in building things, creating things, and if you didn't do that, you weren't much in his eyes.
So then what about you? No offense, Kent, but you're a model and a chauffeur. I don't see much creation there.
I'm a musician, Detective Columbo.
Columbus.
I've recorded 10 original albums. You should check me out on SoundCloud.
A sound what?
Jacob was very supportive of my music. He was one of the only ones, really. I don't have much family.
So what do you think happened to him, Kent?
I have no idea. I mean, I'm not a doctor. It's clearly weird, right, Detective? For him to get sick and die so quickly?
The autopsy results are forthcoming, Kent. Those will tell us a lot more.
I suppose so.
I'll keep you up to date. I apologize for waking you. And once again, I'm sorry for your loss.
Thanks, Detective. I appreciate you.
Oh, and Kent, just one more thing.
Yes?
I assume that as one of Jacob Melman's drivers, you have access to the garage?
Sure, of course.
So you have access to the automotive supplies contained within, I would also assume.
Yes, Detective?
Including the antifreeze?
Well, naturally.
Thank you, Mr. Newman. Be seeing you.
Well, Detective, tell me what's going on. What about the autopsy? The coroner said that he's going as fast as he can. Have you heard from him?
Yes, in fact I have, and Judah Melman was right. It was antifreeze.
Oh my God.
I think it's time we ask Judge Haller for a warrant, Lieutenant.
A warrant? For what? What have you got, Hank?
It's the driver, Kent Newman. I'm thinking we need to do a proper search on him and bring him in. Just to rattle him a bit, no real charges.
Do you really suspect him, though?
Well, it's entirely possible. He'd have easy access to antifreeze.
Okay, but what about motive?
That I'm not 100% on, but then again, I'm not sure of anyone's motives here. I'm getting the word that old Jacob cared more about putting his money back in his businesses than people he knew.
So what about the will? Have you seen it yet?
It's still sealed, and from us, too. But like I said, who knows who's getting his money, if anybody.
Well, I'll get on the horn with the court to get this ball rolling. Good work, Columbus. You just may get your stake yet.
Detective Columbus, this is Mona Melman.
Mrs. Melman, how are you? Did you get any rest?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe a little bit. Listen, there's something that I need to tell you.
Oh, and what is that?
Well, Jacob's lawyers just sat me down and, well, they've given me the will.
The will, huh? So, what does it say?
Well, I think I'll have to be looking for a job tomorrow. Is the police department hiring any secretaries?
What do you mean? What did he leave you?
Nothing. He left me nothing, Detective.
Well, that's cold as ice.
And he didn't leave Coley Nesper anything either.
What about Kent Newman?
Kent? No, not him either.
Then who? Where's all the money going?
It's going into a trust so that his businesses can be controlled.
By who? Whose name is it in?
Judah Melman.
Judah, this is Detective Columbus again. How are you holding up?
Oh, Detective Columbus, you know. I'm still in shock. Have you found out anything?
Well, I don't know if you're aware of this, but the tests came back for the preliminary autopsy.
Oh, and what did they say?
Apparently, Judah, your brother had high traces of antifreeze in his system at the time of his death.
What? Oh my God!
So you were right all along.
I knew it! It was that Mona, wasn't it? She was poisoning him for the money, right?
Well, I guess you missed that call from Jacob's lawyers about the will.
I'm supposed to meet them at 1. What's going on?
Oh, you didn't know? You were going to gain total access to his companies.
I am?
Well, that's debatable if you still are.
What do you mean?
You see, you were the only person who stood to gain from Jacob's death, Judah.
But I didn't know what was in his will. He didn't tell anyone what was in it.
Apparently he did. Well, not everyone, but you knew.
You can't prove any of this. You're just trying to frighten me, trying to get me to slip up.
Now, whatever would you be slipping up for?
Well, nothing. No reason.
We have a search warrant for your house, Judah.
You... What?
And your car and electronics, too. I wonder what we're gonna find there.
Nothing. You'll find nothing.
A whole lot of antifreeze, maybe online searches on how to poison people with it.
Not at all.
You're running to your desktop right now, aren't you, Judah? Trying to delete your browser history? Well, it doesn't work like that. Some things last forever. Like murder. Your own brother. How could a person do such a thing?
No, I didn't do it, I swear!
Be seeing you, Miss Melman. Be seeing you real soon.
A large bottle of antifreeze was found in the trunk of Judah Melman's Mercedes, as well as a small flask of it in her glove box, which she could not explain. After further evidence was discovered, she was charged with first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. Mona Melman has taken a job as a 911 operator and is currently dating a minor league baseball player. Coley and Kent, always secretly in love, finally confessed their feelings for each other. They're now married with 6 kids and both working at a Sandals resort in Granada.